I am Derek Day, and he is,
I am Aaron Tomlinson.
and you're not choppy now. And
Yeah,
I'm hoping that I'm not either.
no, you're not choppy. So
Okay.
maybe chippy, but you're not choppy.
So, okay. um, I don't know if do you remember Max Headroom?
Oh, of course, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Every time I see like choppy video, I always think about Max Headroom.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So he was like always like electronic stuttering and shit.
yeah. It was so cool. It didn't last long, but it was quite the trend back in its day.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, and that was like, back in the days when I partook of cannabis, so it was
Ah,
always it was super entertaining.
I bet. Hmm.
So anyway, that being said, what's in the glass before we get into our topic?
I'm drinking a glass of Chardonnay tonight, going light.
All right,
How about you?
yeah, I'm going light too. I'm having a glass of Merlot. Yeah, not
Nice.
even in a real wine glass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
just
heathen.
yeah, I know, man. I'm being Maya and I have a term. We call it bougetto, right? When you're part bougie and part ghetto.
Oh, that's funny. Bougetto. I have to remember that.
So anyway, I think we have a really interesting topic tonight, and
Hmm.
we've been talking about manifestation. That's been kind of a recurring theme through some of our recent subjects, and I think about this because like what happens is we start off on wanting to do manifestation, right? Want to do manifestation, but we're stuck in old habits. We're
Yep.
stuck in old beliefs,
Yep.
and and in order to really change things, you have to hack your operating system, and this is near and dear to me as a computer guy. Um,
Sure.
because what we're doing is we're hacking into the operating system. And if any of you have ever like jailbroke your Android phone or your iPhone, you know that there's a whole bunch more that you can do with it outside of the Google um, or the Android or Apple ecosystem.
Yep.
So so what we're doing is we're trying to come up with ways to hack this operating system, and it's really important because like when you say that the subconscious is your operating system, I mean exactly that. It- um, for example, um, a thermostat
Hmm.
tells a air conditioning unit what to do,
Hmm.
right? Now the thermostat knows different temperature, but the air conditioning unit only knows hot or cold, right? So you have to have the thermostat to tell it how hot or how cold.
Right.
Likewise, if you have a thermostat with no supporting equipment, it's just a wall ornament, right?
Yep.
And so I want to get into some things too, like where you know I'm gonna start with guns blazing here, because we back in our faith days, right? That people would say fake it till you make it, and then they would tell, like we would say, faith it till you make it,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
The twist on that. But I want to give you another cliche today.
Okay.
Believe it until you become it.
Mm.
So for example, uh, I might say I'm not good with money.
Yeah.
I'm not good with money. And
Mm.
and and what happens is that your subconscious doesn't know the difference. Whatever you do with intention and repetition, your subconscious is just going to it's along for the ride.
Yeah.
Similarly, your subconscious cannot tell the difference between fact and fantasy. If you come up with a vision and you put intention, emotion, and consistency to it, your subconscious we'll start believing it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm gonna start off with something really really interesting, because you and I both have healing stories, you
Yep.
know, where we laid hands on people and they saw them healed, different, myriad of diseases. Uh, Now, what I'm thinking is that it's not so much us. All we are is a catalyst. Huh. Mia said we're not on TikTok. That's a bummer. But anyway, um,
Wow.
yeah. So basically your subconscious. You have to get into it and reprogram it, because one of the things that we do is like I said, we'll say I'm not good with money. You can rephrase that or change the prompt, and so we're going to talk about prompts, because just like how you prompt chat GPT to produce some result, you have to prompt your subconscious to produce a result. So instead of saying I'm bad with money, say I'm becoming better with money.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I'm becoming a better steward of money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm becoming someone who wealth is comfortable with.
Yeah.
And so in doing that, that is a stopgap measure to help you retrain your conscious thinking,
Yep.
so that it repeats and gets down into your subconscious.
Yep.
So that's kind of where I am today, is just, how do we hack into our operating system and change the program,
Mm-hmm.
because you can stand in the mirror and give yourself affirmations all day. You can say, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. But if your subconscious says, this bullshit, it
Yeah.
ain't happening.
Yeah.
So that's what we want to do. We want to get to the point where we're changing the root in order to change the fruit.
Yeah. I like how you brought up the affirmations right away, because I think a lot of people think if I make these affirmations over and over and over again, eventually I'll reprogram my subconscious, right?
Yep.
But if your subconscious is automatically resisting it as a lie, good luck with that.
Yep.
And so, to your point, if you have a lot of financial problems, maybe you're compulsively spend, maybe you have a hard time keeping track of where your money's going, who knows, all kinds of reasons. And you just sit there and, like you said, look in the mirror and say, I'm good with money, I'm good with money, I'm good with money.
Mm-hmm.
And all the evidence in your life is that you suck with it, right? Or at least that's what your subconscious believes. Every time you say that, you're going to feel that resistance inside. You're going to feel that pushback from the subconscious, which is what you really believe. You really believe you suck with money. So when you're saying, I'm good with money, I'm good with money, I'm good with money, you're getting pushback from the subconscious. You're not really doing anything. So when you reframe the affirmation, like you stated, I'm becoming good with money, then the subconscious can kind of, listen up and say, oh, okay, something's changing with us, rather than trying to make it a statement that essentially is like gaslighting yourself, right?
Yeah.
Gaslighting your subconscious. So, but your subconscious will hear that differently, like, oh, that something's changing. And you can feel the difference. You kind of have to play around with stuff until you feel the difference, because what you feel more often than not is what you actually really believe and what you're actually going to really act on. So I think that's a good place to start, is like when we're hacking the subconscious, it's not just reprogramming it, it's developing rapport between your conscious mind, your will, and your intention, and your subconscious mind, which is, like you said, the operating system that we're attempting to hack. So if I'm making an affirmation that's totally contrary to what I believe with my subconscious, it has like a firewall around it that won't allow any hacking to get in.
Yep.
So
And that's the funny thing about belief, is that belief is how we're trained to. Hold on, we lost the feed.
Uh-oh.
Hang on, hold on for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right, there we go. That was weird. uh, the devil's doing it.
That's right. Doesn't want the
No,
word.
so you know, our beliefs are usually the result of conditioning. They're the result of nature and nurture. In other words, what you're told or with repetition, you
Right.
begin to believe. So if someone tells you, you can't afford that, or play it smaller, or don't try, don't try
Don't get
such lofty things, you hear this with repetition, and then you begin to believe it.
right.
And the big thing about hacking is that what we don't want to do is overcome this bad belief.
Hmm.
You want to change your belief, and this is kind of a shot across the bow to my atheist friends, because as an atheist, when I was an atheist, I would say I don't believe anything,
Right.
but you do believe things. You
Right.
do. And so for everyone that's listening, I want to say this, that in this exercise, in this exercise, you want to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in anything else, you
Yeah.
have to believe in yourself. Because it's funny, like, we talk about belief in God, or, all of this, but we've never seen God. Never had, people say, yeah, I've seen, face to face like Moses. No, you really haven't. Um, but when you say, um, I believe in something that I can't see, and it's funny too, like about love. People say I love God, but they hate people,
Yeah.
or they
Right.
hate certain people. How do
Right.
you love the God you can't see and hate the people that you can?
Right.
So the same thing. You can't see God, but you can see you. Nobody ever looks at themselves directly. We need a mirror for that.
Hmm.
But when we look into the mirror, what do we see? What do we see? And the thing is getting it so that when you look in the mirror and you say something to yourself, that reshapes your present reality, not your future reality.
Right.
It's now, because in the big construct of time, there is no past or future.
Right.
Everything is now.
Right.
Everything is a now. You're going from one now to another. So having belief in yourself and speaking affirmation to yourself, or speaking prompts to yourself, will help you reframe your thinking, and reframing your thinking will reframe your words. Reframing your words will reframe your actions. Reframing your actions will reframe your habits, and destiny follows that.
Right.
So that's yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a different a little spin. Like I love what you're saying, and even the Bible. You quoted the Bible. People may not know that. How can you love God when who you haven't seen, when you don't love your brother that you have seen?
Yeah.
Right. That's in the Bible. Um, but one of the things I do find helpful, and this is where belief in the invisible comes in for me when it comes to manifestation,
Yep.
uh, was, we walk by faith and not by sight, Paul said. Another place he says, we fix our eyes on things that are unseen rather than things that are seen. So you can hear that a couple different ways. You can hear that as I'm required to believe in a God that I can't see, which is, where the atheists really take issue
Mhm.
with God. And rightfully so, because you're dealing with a level of subjectivity. And we've talked about that a lot on this show.
Yep.
But at least in my experience, because the brain's a predicting machine, right? Your brain
Yep.
is wired to anticipate a future. Even reading, like people don't realize this, but part of learning to read is learning to anticipate what's coming next. So one of the things I think is so fascinating about the English language, like say opposed to the Spanish language, is we put the punctuation at the end. So whereas in Spanish they put the punctuation at the beginning, so you're reading a question before you start reading, right?
Right.
So there's an element of anticipation and predictability that the brain depends upon in order to even be able to read the English language, at least. And so what we end up doing is we end up predicting. What do we predict based on? We predict based on what we've had in the past.
Yeah.
So we end up in this loop where we're constantly living in this same predictive loop where we keep bringing the past into the present and then
Yes.
manifesting it into the future, right? So in order for there to be real change means there's something different that comes into your life, right?
Yep.
So I have to be able to believe in a future that I can't see, oftentimes to the exclusion of the present moment that I can see.
Wow.
So
Profound.
if I'm sick in my body and I want to be well and I want to program my mind towards wellness, I have to believe in a future that I cannot see yet, that's totally opposed, in opposition to the present moment of what my circumstances are and what I can see, right? Or if I want to believe for moving into a different income tax bracket,
Yep.
you know, never been in before, then I have to believe, I have to receive in the now a future that hasn't happened yet as though it's already happened,
Right.
in order to manifest it, right? So I do find it helpful when I'm going through these situations to remember, and I'm not trying to be corny or anything here, but some of the stuff we got right. Like, whose report are you going to believe, right? Are you going to believe the evil report of the land? When Joshua is going into the land, there's giants and strongholds and all of this, and it's a fascinating story. You got Caleb. Really, Caleb's the only one that comes in and says, we're well able to take the land. These people will be food for you. These challenges will be food for you. They'll only make you stronger. And then Joshua kind of sides with Caleb. So you got the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
You got the other 10 spies that went out and said, no, it's terrible out there. There's giants out there.
We're land, like grasshoppers.
And what's so fascinating in the story, even if whether you read it as a just sort of a fairy tale, or whether you read it as truth, what's fascinating is they got what they believed. They got their internal perceptions of who they were in relationship to their circumstances, because the 10 spies, they go and spread an evil report about the camp. And so everybody says, oh, we've come out here, to die.
Yep.
And only Joshua and Caleb said, no, we're going to go in and possess the land. So at the end of the day, everybody that said, God brought us out here. It's so fascinating. God said, I'm going to take you into the promised land. And they said, God brought us out here to die. And everybody believed that God brought them out there to die, died, even though God himself said, I'm going to take you into the land. Yep. And then the two that believed that they could overcome it and take the land, they were the two that got to go in. So I do think those stories, whether intentionally or unintentionally, point to something in our human experience, at least in relationship to manifestation, right? So we have to be able to tune out the evil reports. We have to be able to kind of close our eyes to our current situation while we're convincing our subconscious of something different.
Yep. And so I want to go back to the where I was talking about healing, and I had a senior moment. I had a brain fart, and now it's come back to me. When we lay hands on people, and we're convinced, that healing is going to manifest. Healing is going to manifest, right? But what I think happens is that we become a catalyst for something in them, in the person that's being healed, because they have the faith. It is their faith that causes healing, because it's them suddenly, shockingly reprogramming their subconscious. Mm-hmm. And the subconscious starts telling the body, okay, walk, hear, see, whatever, right? Because the cells in your body are kind of like your autonomic nervous system, where it just happens. You don't have to think about breathing. You don't have to think about digesting. It just does it. Your body does it. And so your subconscious is just a layer above that. Mm-hmm. And the subconscious will drive this. And I'll give you an example. If you ever find yourself like excited, super excited, and you begin to hyperventilate, right? Right. So this is your body's response to some stimuli. Mm-hmm. But if you speak calmness to yourself,
Yeah.
get centered, get focused,
Yep.
then what happens is that your subconscious tells your autonomic nervous system, okay, this stimulus, the stimuli, don't worry about it. We're good. We're good. Just calm down. And then your breathing comes down and it gets regulated. And that's one of the things with programming the subconscious. Uh, so let me use myself as an example because um, I I don't talk about this a lot, but I'll say this that my childhood was pretty fucked up,
Mm.
and I got a lot of fond memories. I had great siblings, great friends. There was a lot of mitigation around that, but the nucleus of things was just really, really, really fucked up.
Mm.
And and so I had separation issues. I had uh,
Mhm.
you know, feeling unloved, feeling unseen, feeling unworthy, all of
Yeah.
these things, and all of this, carries on into your adulthood, and it's like anything else that if you're not healing it, you wind up bleeding on others, and so what I'm learning is. I've taken on a concept, and I read about this. Is not anything original. It's something I read about, but it's called second parenting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
second parenting basically says, okay, now that you have reached a point where you feel seen, where you feel worthy, where you've changed your mind, you go back to that child
Yeah.
and reassure them that everything is okay, that you are worthy, that you will turn out to be great, that all of these things, and say that you are safe. See, and this is the other thing too about the subconscious is that the subconscious is really only concerned about one thing: self-preservation,
Yep.
safety. What is safe? What is safe? And so what happens is when you say, okay, I'm becoming a millionaire, you begin to think thoughts like, uh, well, I don't know what I'd do with all this money, or I don't think I deserve all of this money, or I'm just going to blow this money. And all of these things, this is what your subconscious has absorbed. And what you have to do is, and the other thing too, the universe only respects one thing. Just like the subconscious is only concerned about safety, the universe only rewards one thing and one thing only, and that's consistency.
Yeah.
The more consistent you are with anything, the more result you're going to get. It isn't like, it's not, you don't have to be the guy that hits the park exiting home run every time. You need to have a solid bat. You need to know when to swing for a base hit, when to bunt, when to step back so that you take a ball or whatever. You learn this, and you're not trying to, uh, and that's the other thing too about hacking your subconscious, is that it is a gradual process, and I emphasize the word process
Yep.
because it takes time. So through second parenting, through affirmations, through prompting, and what you have to do is when you say it, um, like for example, you say 5 times, wealth is safe with me. 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 After you say it 5 times, your subconscious is hearing this,
Yeah.
and it will begin to adapt to a mode where money will not cause panic. Because see, here's the thing about money is that everybody has some level of money anxiety. You
Right.
know, either having too little or having too much. And the thing is, what you may not necessarily want to be a billionaire, and that's fine. But you might want to just say, hey, I have enough wealth
Mhm.
to do everything that I want to do, that I can travel, that I can buy what I like, that I can do what I like whenever I want to. And 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 you say that these experiences are my right.
Yeah.
It's for me to experience these things, and because I experience these things, others can see my experience and learn to manifest through my example.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kick it back to you, but I want to pull up a couple of examples as while you're talking
Okay.
about things that we could do to hack the interface.
This is good for me because you talked about, calming yourself down with anxiety and stuff. And so I was just thinking about this last night, and I'm getting ready to do some content on this, but I got to research it out a little bit more. But we talk about quantum physics, but we talk about it out there, the wave particle, all that stuff. But it's interesting that all of modern medicine is based on a particle model, really Newtonian physics still. And you wonder if there was enough people that got together and enough money devoted to research, what could happen if we started dealing with the quantum level of our bodies, right?
Yep.
So that we're not really solid. We'll talk about the table's not really solid, the chair's not really solid, but your body's not really solid either. Your body is a field
Yep.
of quantum energy and quantum information, right? At the most basic level. And so one of the things, it's so interesting, I'd forgotten about this, but I got really good at this when I was younger, where I would speak to my body and tell my body what to do, not in a forceful sort of way, but in a kind, suggesting sort of way. Just like you said, reparenting, right? You don't go at your anxiety like, God damn it, quit being anxious, you stupid son of a bitch.
Yeah.
That's not really good reparenting.
Yeah, like when you're a worse parent than your parent.
But I can think of 3 examples, and I hesitate to share this stuff, but it'll help people understand me. So when we went on our honeymoon, I'm trying to remember if I'd ever been to the beach except for like the Oregon coast, Oregon, Washington. If I'd ever been to a beach before my honeymoon, I'm sure I had. But I'd been to the Gulf Coast. So we're over in Miami, right, on our honeymoon.
Yep.
And there's all these signs: beware the Portuguese man of war, right? And we have no idea what that is.
Yeah. It's bad.
So I'm out there in the ocean, and I swam through, I swear to this day, I would swear I swam through a school of Portuguese man of war.
Ooh.
But all I know was those things wrapped their tentacles around my chest, my waist, my back. I mean, I was totally entangled fighting with this thing, and it just felt like really fine barbed wire, right, with really tiny barbs, just someone wrapping it around me and then just pulling on my skin, right? And I get out of the water, and I mean, I am just covered, Derek. Just my whole torso, just front and back, just covered. I've got pictures of it still from our honeymoon. And I sat down, and I had learned how to speak to my body. And I just began to speak to my body and tell my body it was okay, that I was out of that situation, and that it needed to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And within 20 minutes, my skin was fine, perfectly fine. Now, I wasn't too thrilled about going back out. But I talked to the locals, about it. And my sister and her husband lived down there. He was working at the University of Miami at the time. And everybody told me, like, that's days recovery, like that's the terrible thing. Some people told me the best thing to do is have somebody urinate on it. I don't know if that's the truth. I mean, somebody's
I almost said something.
But, people put baking soda, like there's all these treatments for it, right? Because it lasts, but mine went away in like 20 minutes. And I used to be able to do the same thing with burns. If I burned my hand on the stove or the oven, or hot grease would splash on it and it start to blister, I would sit there and I would tell my body, okay, you let me know that my hand was on the stove. I pulled it away. I don't need this pain. I don't need this response anymore. I'm not in danger anymore.
Right.
And within 20 minutes or whatever, the blister would clear up, the burn would go away.
Yeah.
Now, this is really crazy. This one will stretch people. But where I live, mosquitoes are a thing.
Yeah.
That's a thing everywhere. But, you know, being around farming and ranching and, you know, irrigation and ditches and a lot of resting water and stuff, like, you just hordes of mosquitoes. And I used to get, if I didn't put off or cutter on or something, I would get 20, 30 mosquito bites when I was out. But I would tell my body that I was off limits to mosquitoes, that I was not attractive to mosquitoes, that mosquitoes would not come to me. And I'll be honest with you, Derek, I did that in my early 20s, and I've maybe had 3 mosquito bites in my life since then. And I never.
That's the manifestation that we can use.
Yeah. And so I, you know, not to get spooky about it, like, I think that we're able to shift our energy field, if that makes sense, in ways that people don't think is possible. That has nothing to do with, you know, praying to the God in the sky and if it be thy will and, you know, all that stuff. But it's just because if you think about it, the subconscious, you know, keeps your food digesting, it keeps your heart beating, it keeps you breathing. What did I read? Something like 3 trillion processes are going on in your body without your conscious input at any given moment. Your skin's shedding, you're making new skin. So there's this incredible intelligence in your body. And if you can hack the subconscious, you can hack that intelligence and rearrange your field in a way that this stuff looks miraculous, incredulous, unbelievable, but it actually happens.
And that's that. So you bring up a really good point. And this is something I want to talk about too, is that beliefs, in order for beliefs to be cemented, in order for beliefs to penetrate or hack your subconscious, you have to have evidence.
Right.
You know, that you have to see the process unfolding.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like I was reading one author that said before she was able to believe and manifest for thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, she believed for $100.
Yep.
And this $100, she could see it, she could, you know, picture herself holding it in her hand, folding it, putting it in her pocket, all of this, you know, and what she would do with the $100 once she got it, you know, because that's another thing too, is that when you do hack your subconscious, you need to give it an assignment.
Yep.
It's not just enough to say, you know, be well, right?
Right.
Be well. Okay, what does wellness consist of? Well, wellness consists of clean food, exercise, fresh air and sunshine. You know, just really taking care of your body. So if you say, I'm believing for, or I'm manifesting health in my body, but you keep eating Twinkies, you know, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you have to, you know, you have to believe and let the evidence guide you.
Yep. Because
the thing that I want to say to everybody is that in this whole process, as I'm learning manifestation, and I want to say for the record, I'm no guru. I'm not that guy. I'm just a guy that's going through it. I'm a student, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm learning is I take baby steps.
Yep.
Baby steps. What can I believe for that I know will manifest right away? And don't try it with things like, you know, you're going to get paid on Friday, and you say, well, I'm believing for for money, or I'm manifesting money, but you're saying it knowing that your payday is coming up. That doesn't work either, because that doesn't train your subconscious to do anything. And I talked earlier about the thermostat thing, and a thermostat, it doesn't struggle to reach 72 degrees. It just believes that 72 degrees is the normal, and makes the adjustment. See, this is the thing with hacking your brain, is that, or hacking your subconscious, is that you believe it, and what that does is it causes your subconscious, your operating system, to react accordingly. In other words, if you don't feel wealthy,
Right.
if you don't feel well, if you don't feel happy, then your subconscious is going to go back to its default of safety. What is the safe path? What is the path of least resistance? So you have to prompt your subconscious. And one of the things that you know uh, we always ask, like, what do you want? What do you want? But really, what the subconscious is asking us, what it's prompting us, is, what do you believe you are?
Mhm.
And so again, it's changing our beliefs. But you can't have belief without evidence. And this is where my atheist friends are going to get happy again, because religion, you know it's not going to deliver results. It's just not. When you get results, it's going to be because are the you are the god of your world. You create your reality. You create the change. If you have abundance, it's because you created it. If you have scarcity, it's because you created it. And this is not I don't want to get into victim blaming or victim shaming or anything. That's not the point. But the point is that in the beginning, God created. In the beginning. So what is the beginning? Your beginning is a new day. You open your eyes, and you create a reality. And what you believe that reality to be is how your subconscious is going to react.
Yep.
So if you wake up saying, I, so just for the record, I told you we were talking about sleep. Neither one of us got much sleep last
Right.
night.
Right.
Um, I got up this morning and I walked 3.5 miles.
Mhm.
Now, I didn't really want to take that walk. Matter of fact, there was more in me that said, just go back to sleep, than it was actually going and doing it. But
Yep.
I am, I'm trying to, I am becoming lean. I am becoming fit. I'm becoming uh, someone who looks spectacular
Mhm.
in clothes and without them. you know, and that's what I'm becoming. So but that prompt also requires action.
Yep.
So if you're saying, okay, I'm becoming better with money, then maybe you ought to spend some time reading a book on finance or
Yeah.
investment,
Yeah. Right.
so
Right.
that you're reinforcing the
Right.
prompt with action. And when you reinforce the prompt with action, you will begin to see results.
Yeah.
And once you start seeing results, baby, look out, because at that point, you're on autopilot, because now your subconscious sees you as wealthy, as healthy, as fit, as loved.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if we could think in terms of we're reprogramming ourselves towards something else.
Yep.
So I have been really bad at my health journey the last few months because life lifed on me. And
Yeah.
well, I don't know about you, but I only have so much willpower to go around, only so much attention and energy to go around. And there
You
were
know.
other things that required my more immediate attention than
Yep.
my health journey. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But um, I want to speak to the victim blaming thing because that's a real thing, but it's problematic. And I'm speaking, so for those that may not know, like I'm speaking from inside the clinical mental health world here. So I would venture to guess, definitely compared to the average viewer, I've talked to more victims about more shit and more horrible stuff than anybody that's watching, unless you are also do this for a living all the time, you know.
Right.
Uh, there was a day in my full-time job when I was talking to 7 people a day, and all of them were victims. You know, um, but this is tricky because where victim blaming becomes problematic is when someone is a victim of a crime, when someone is a victim of an assault. You find this particularly oftentimes with women who are victims of sexual assault, that they blame themselves. You know, I shouldn't have been dressed a certain way, or I shouldn't have, you know, I mean, the mind just does terrible, terrible things to them. And so that's when we want to help people out of that sort of victim blaming thing. You know what I mean? So like victim blaming is, well, or I suppose this goes on with race too, right? Like, well, you shouldn't have been in the wrong part of town, and you know, whatever, you shouldn't have had dreads, or you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's a very real thing. However, when we say you might have attracted something to you, or your state is attracting things to you, that can be heard in an empowering sort of way. And here's what I mean by that. If you look at anything, you know, on the internet, or you look at any of the stuff they teach about like how to make yourself, what's the term? There's a term for it. Less of a target, right? Yeah. So let's just think about mugging, right? A mugging, or how you carry yourself has a lot to do with whether or not you're a target for a criminal.
Yeah.
It's just like my house, right? Like if I've got Ring cameras up in the house, if I've got dogs, if I've got several cars in the yard, and somebody's casing houses, and then someone across the street, they don't have any kind of security system, any kind of Ring cameras, their dogs are all outside or something. I mean, you know, they're going to be a more attractive
target.
A more attractive target, right? So you could say, in one sense, that house attracted the burglar, right? Well, it's the same thing. Like, so, you know, let's just, as guys, right? Like, so if you carry yourself really meek and mild and timid, shoulders slumped, head down, you're wearing a hat, the bully's more likely to knock the hat off your head than somebody that's carrying themselves with confidence, right?
Yep.
By the same token, and I would be interested, because this is just my thought, I'd be interested in your perspective as a former bouncer. But if I'm a fairly big guy and I walk into a bar with my shoulders back and my chest out and my chin up, and I'm acting like I'm the alpha in the room, there's another alpha in the room that's going to challenge that.
That's right.
Just because of the way I'm carrying myself.
Yep. Who do you think you are?
Yeah. Now all of a sudden I got to take you down because you think you're. I had friends like that. I had a friend like that. I mean, this guy was crazy, and he was, tactically trained. He was on the SWAT team. He was all this different stuff. And there was a couple times I was with him. I'm like, dude, like, fuck you. Like, you're on your own. Because he would just go start shit. I mean, we're like in our 40s, and the guys would walk in and he would just go start shit with them. And I'm like, dude, if they kick your ass, like, I ain't jumping in. Like, that's bullshit. Like, I would watch him go up to the biggest guys in the bar and put him in a headlock and give him a noogie just to see if he could start shit with them. So here's my point. Just on that natural level, I'm using those examples to say, if my state is one of victimhood, if my state is one of vulnerability, and I'm embodying that state, I'm broadcasting that vulnerability to people who want to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
If my state is confident, not arrogant, right?
Right.
I'm sending a signal that says, basically, if you fuck with me, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So that might seem like that's off topic, but
No, it's right on point.
so many people re attract situations to themselves over and over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
where they are victimized over and over and over again because they carry themselves like a victim. And I've got the receipts on this. Like, I've got many people that I worked with, and I'm like, just teaching them how to carry themselves different, just teaching them how to be confident, just teaching them a few tricks, and they had been, it doesn't matter, assaulted multiple times, mugged multiple times. I knew a guy that, for whatever reason, he'd been shot at 4 different times in road rage incidents. I mean, that's insane.
But you know what though? Like at the risk of sounding like victim blaming, the law of attraction is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
What you project, you can expect.
Yeah.
So if you keep putting things out there, like you put yourself out as a victim, you're going to be victimized, because that's the way the law of attraction works. Because the law of attraction it isn't obliged to do good or bad. It's just obliged to give you what you're expecting.
Yeah, and that's not to say that the person is to blame for the bad things that happen, because obviously the perpetrator is 100% to blame.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for it. But what it is to say is that you can take your power back and experience something different in your life if you do the work to reprogram yourself out of that victim mentality into something else.
Yep.
And that pushes people's buttons, man. That triggers people,
because
they're stuck in that. And you tell them that, man, they will want your head on a platter. They will want to send you to the guillotine.
Yep. But here's another thing is that fear. Because a lot of times what happens is that fear. We fear things. We fear crossing streets. We fear untethered dogs and all of this. But fear, I'm learning, is a precursor to growth if you embrace it. And so I've been getting in touch with my inner David Goggins and saying I'm embracing the suck.
Yeah,
embracing the suck.
A lot of power in that.
What's that?
There's a lot of power in that.
It is. And the thing is that there is bad shit is going to come your way.
Yep.
That's environment. You can't 100%. Do anything about that.
100%.
But you can control how you react to it.
Yep.
You can control how you react to it. And so one of the things that we want to do in hacking the subconscious is facing our fears. That if you have an issue with money where you don't think I'm good with money, or money is not safe with me, do something luxurious for yourself.
Yeah.
And deal with with your feelings, because it's okay for you to feel. Feeling is how we it's part of our stimuli. It's part of our input, right? But what we need to do is change how we process it.
Yeah.
So if you process it from the point of scarcity, you won't want to treat yourself anymore. You'll buy this thing and you're like, oh, why the fuck did I spend that money?
Yeah.
Instead of well, hey, I've got a Louis Vuitton suitcase, So that's part of a true story. But that's the thing. You face your fears, you embrace the suck, and what you do is that instead of making fear your enemy, because what people do is they say, well, I want to eliminate my fears. No, your fear is for example, fear may save you from a mountain lion attack. It may impart something into your body, adrenaline or some, rapid fire thinking that helps you survive. Mm-hmm. So fear in and of itself is not the enemy. It's the thing you fear.
Right.
And the only way that you deal with the thing that you fear is by facing that thing.
Right.
So so yeah, it's like it's embracing the suck. It's you know, you have nature and you have nurture. Nature you can't do anything about. You know where you live, what your environment is. You know, yeah, you have some control over it. Like say, you know, if you don't like the city you live in, you can leave, right?
Right, right,
But
right.
some people don't have that means, or they don't have the wherewithal to do that. So you are where you are, and so you have to grow where you're planted. Either grow where you're planted, or plant instead of growing.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny because I, I was a crazy guy when I was younger, but um, I've always been afraid of heights, right?
Yeah,
Just and so I went through this phase like I'm gonna not let fear rule me in any area. If I let fear rule me in this area, I'm letting fear rule me in other areas, right?
yep.
So for me, overcoming my fear of heights was a practical way I could combat fear, right? So I even took a job with as a window washer on construction cleanups, right? And
Wow.
so there's this high school between where I live in Denver off of I-25, and they had it was probably just 3 stories or whatever, but they had a whole wall of windows where you could see the mountains, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to get this ladder and climb up 3 stories on this ladder and wash these windows, climb down. We were pretty low budget window cleaners. We didn't have the little
No scaffolding
baskets.
or anything. Yeah.
And I would do that I took that job specifically. I'm going to overcome my fear. I did like bungee jumping at the Royal Gorge, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember being in that line for that, and people in front of me were throwing up, and they were younger than me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm scared. I'm like, well, at least I'm not throwing up. At least and I did it, and I got done, you know. And my wife wanted to go skydiving, and I was just like, ain't no freaking way. I don't care. I'm a big guy. I ain't tandeming with nobody.
And that's one thing that's on my bucket list is free falling, because I've jumped out of airplanes before, but it's like static line jumping, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
where everything has to be in a specific area.
yeah. I would have been if I'd have gone into military and had to do that kind of stuff. I don't know what I would have done. I would have become like who's the guy in Mash that was cross dressing, try to
Oh,
get
Klinger,
out. Yeah, I become
Laney
like Klinger.
Farr.
Yeah, I become Klinger.
Yeah.
But to this day, I am still afraid of heights. I don't like them at all. You
But
know?
that's okay. You know, everybody always says overcome your fear. You know, in other words, where you master your fear. No, you don't master your fear, because fear of heights is a good thing. It'll
Yes,
keep you from falling.
yes,
You know, if you're in a high place. Um, you know, one of the things that I did, because I had a fear of heights too, but I went on that sky deck at the Grand Canyon,
yeah, done that
and
too.
oh boy,
I've done that too.
man, you talk about choking it down.
Yeah,
That is an experience, you know, and this thing is over engineered. You know, it's not going to give up. It's just not.
yeah,
But you go out there and you're like, ooh, oh, I don't know. But the thing is that you can still have that fear of heights, but you say, okay, I'm telling my body how to react to it.
yeah, yeah.
I'm speaking calm to my
Hmm.
body. The fear is still there. Can't eliminate the fear, but I can mitigate how I respond to it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why. Whenever my kids were little, they wanted to do the Ferris wheel. I would literally walk to the other end of the amusement park because I could not stand. I wasn't about to get on that damn thing, and I could not stand watching my kids. Like, I'll tell you a funny story. We were at Park City, Utah, for the Fourth of July back in 2019,
Yeah.
and they have a alpine slide.
Hmm.
So you take the and I did I skied. I'm from Colorado. I'd get on the ski lifts and I would just be sweating bullets while I'm on the ski lift.
Yeah, I don't like ski lifts.
So you take this ski lift up and we come down and Elijah's 6 years old, I think, at the time, whatever he was. He's still little, and he wants to go um, back on the thing. So I'm like, okay. So he takes off, and he's fast, and he jumps on that chairlift, and they didn't put the bar down.
Ooh, ooh. I know that had to have been
And he's by himself. And the dude, since he's been born, cannot sit still. Like even as a baby, he was all, so he's like, I'm watching.
Oh, I know that had to be like heart wrenching.
It's not like falling on snow would be better, but there's no snow, right? Like it's the middle of summer. And I'm just dying inside. And I flipped out, man. I went and found the manager. I'm like, they didn't put the bar down. What the hell? You just let him go up there.
Ooh.
And then it takes him forever to come down, right? It takes him forever to come down. Like I'm talking like 2 hours or something. Like I don't know where my kid is, right?
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, somebody in front of him had all kinds of issues with getting the slide to work, and there was another accident in front of him, and so he just got, delayed.
That's right.
But I remember watching him come down, and it was like, okay, Dad, like it's time to let go. It's time to quit being the helicopter parent. He did that. He did that fine. I'm sharing that story because in his subconscious, he had no fear.
Nope.
Right. And so he was able to negotiate it perfectly and enjoy it and have a great time.
Yep.
Dad, on the other end, was riddled with fear because for whatever reason, that stuff just never let go of me. I was never able to conquer. I was able to conquer the fear in order to do the stuff, but I was never able to conquer the fear so that the fear wasn't ever there. It was always there. And I think that's a little bit of what you're talking about. Like, sometimes our subconscious gets reprogrammed by our actions.
Yep.
Right. Like if I'm constantly giving in, like it's one thing to be afraid of heights that could lead to your death. Like jumping out of an airplane.
Yep.
Is dangerous. Whitewater rafting. When we went whitewater rafting, we had to watch a 2-hour safety video, and then we had to sign away. Like my heirs can't sue you, their heirs can't sue you. Like nobody can sue you if I die. And I remember they're like the most common way people die is if they stand up when they, fall out of the raft. I'm like, the most common way they die? Like,
wait a minute, you mean there are other ways to die? Holy shit.
But we have irrational fears, like you said, like fear of success, fear of failure, fear of people, fear of all kinds of stuff, right? That we can be afraid of that just can immobilize us. And no amount necessarily of positive affirmation is going to get rid of that fear. You got to take some steps. You got to take action. In order for your subconscious mind to believe it, you got to take action. It's just like you were saying with the money. Read some books about investing. Read some books like, The Millionaire Next Door or Think and Grow Rich or Rich Dad, Poor Dad or something to give yourself some financial education.
Yep. There always has to be corresponding action with belief, because corresponding action will lead to results. And at the end of the day, that's what your subconscious is concerned with, right? It's concerned with safety, but it's like if you produce results that say, okay, this next level of my life is safe. If you convince your subconscious of that, now it's easy for you to experience wealth, to experience health, to experience love, all of these things. And so it's really, man, you just really have to change not just your thinking, but you have to change what your present reality is.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about this a few minutes ago, is that really there's only right now. Right now is the only time that exists. So, we'll say, well, I'll do that tomorrow. Well, you don't know about tomorrow. You don't know what's coming tomorrow. Tomorrow is a now that has not been constructed yet, because in the beginning, you didn't create it. So it's like, okay, what do I do now? So let me share another example with you, because I'm well, I'm not going to say exactly what it is, because I'll tell you privately. Because one of the things that I've learned about manifestation too is that you can't tell everybody
Yeah.
what you're thinking, or what you're planning, or what you're expecting to manifest, because people will talk you out of it. They'll talk you out of it. It's like, if you say I'm going to have a Rolls Royce by the end of the year, somebody's invariably is going to say, "The fuck do you need with a Rolls Royce?"
Yeah.
And immediately, your everything that you've been working to manifest has now gone down the tubes. Why? Because something has a superior thought. And when I say superior thought, I'm not saying it's a better thought in terms of its quality. I'm just saying a stronger thought, or a thought that your subconscious more easily deals with.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I'll just throw this out here. Um, when one of the things I learned when I was able to really like see this stuff show up, you brought up Rolls Royce. Let me just, for atheist friends or skeptical friends out there, Dean Radin is a scientist, and
Mm,
he's done a lot of well-designed scientific experiments on manifestation, law of attraction,
mm,
things like that. And he wrote a book called The Real Magic. It's real easy read, small book if somebody wants to pick it up. Um, but he talks about, and I may have the story wrong, but I think he was testing this out, and he was going to manifest a gold Rolls Royce.
mm.
And he goes through the story, and he didn't tell anybody, because you talk about keeping it secret. And somebody either mailed him or sent him or something, like a little tiny miniature Matchbox replica of a gold Rolls Royce,
Huh.
or maybe it
Yeah.
was a gold Porsche. I can't remember, but it was something like that. There's only like 8 of them in the world or something, right?
Yep.
And it's a fascinating story. Um, and then one other book, if you can get past the religious stuff, and I know this guy had some scandals, whatever. People say whatever they want, but where I really learned how to manifest was uh, Paul Youngie Cho's book, The Fourth Dimension.
Mm.
He's a pastor in Korea. He wrote it in the 80s, I think. If you can get past the religious stuff and just look at the principles there. But one of the things that I think is so key is, I want to almost say, pretending that you have it before you have it.
Yeah.
You mentioned fake it till you make it. And you don't have to do this in front of people. You don't have to do this. You don't have to go out and, spend money you don't have on Louis Vuitton. Although I agree 100% with what you're saying.
Yep.
Like, you've got to uh, you've got to live from a place of wealth rather than from a place of lack. So if you've got the money to do that, do it. But I used to walk around, and like, if I was believing for something, that was the language we used back then. If I was going to manifest something, I would put myself in imaginary scenarios, just like when I was a kid.
Hmm.
And I would think, how would I be acting? What would my life be like if I already had this thing? So rather than focusing on more money, right?
Yep.
So like, we want to focus on more money. So I'm going to sit there and I'm going to meditate on seeing, 6 figures in my bank savings account or something. Or no, what kind of person would you be if money was not an issue?
Yeah.
How would you carry yourself? How would you talk? How would you think? How would you act around people? How would you brag to these pretend people in your life about all the money that you have? And then just create those scenarios
Yep.
in private, for 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day or something.
Yep.
And
And convince your subconscious that this is really happening.
exactly. And so we have to go back to almost that childlike, like, I used to pretend that I was Spider-Man, or I used to
Yep.
pretend that I was Superman, or I used to pretend that I was John Elway.
Yeah.
or Joe Montana or whatever, back when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And and so you play that kind of childlike game, but you do it with serious intention towards serious results. And I would challenge anybody just to try that for 90 days, and see what changes, see what happens in your life, see what shows up in your life. Because I think that's a real key. And the reason I mentioned Cho's book is because I remember there's a story in there where he talks about telling everybody he had this great bicycle. And then people were like, I want to come over and see your bicycle. And he didn't have any bicycle, right? But he talked about it as though he already had it.
Yep.
And then he manifested it. And that's a very real thing. I've seen that over and over and over again in my life.
So I've had a couple of manifestation experiences, right? Back in the day, we used to go and look at houses. Whenever there was an open house, you go and look at the house. And I would never look at a house that was something that I could just afford.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at things that were a stretch for me.
Mm-hmm.
And kept doing that until, this was 2012. We bought what I call the McMansion in Arizona.
Yeah.
And this house was spectacular in every way. I mean, it's like, 12-foot ceilings upstairs and downstairs, travertine and marble tile, hand scraped maple staircase, just all kinds of, wet plaster arches, and just, everything was just custom, like 3 fireplaces and all of that. And I remember that I went and looked at this house, and I said, I see myself living here.
Mm.
I see myself walking from my bedroom to my house.
Yes.
And when I did that, I pictured this in my head, and we were able to construct a deal where I was able to buy this house. And that was one. But I'll go back a little bit further, because anybody that's known me for any amount of time knows that I'm a car guy. I love cars. I love cars. And I always used to say when I was a kid, when I grow up, I'm going to drive a Corvette. I'm going to drive a Corvette. And so in December of 1993, I bought my first Corvette, brand new. And when I got in it, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I said, I've been talking about this since I was a child, and here I am.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm also going to tell you how this goes sideways too, because when I got this car, I was like, I'm the motherfucking man. You see what I'm doing here?
Yes, I do. Yes.
See,
yes.
I get arrogant.
Yeah.
And the arrogance derailed my belief. And so, I had the Corvette, had it for years, and then got another one. But it was like, I went through a lot of hardship, heartache with that car.
Yeah.
And it's because I was like, yeah, I'm the motherfucking man. No, you're not. It's like you're blessed. You have tapped into something in the universe. You have unlocked some kind of wisdom. You have tapped into the field, whatever it is. You have got the things that's hoped for and the evidence of things not seen.
Right.
So I had the evidence, but that's the other thing too, is that when you have the evidence, I believe that you have to also accept it with humility.
Yeah. I would take it one step further, and I don't know, your whole story, like with the Corvette, for sure. But when your state becomes the result, the person you're going to be when you have those things.
Yeah.
In other words, I don't want to share that. Let's just say there's a person out there somewhere that I might know that grew up believing they were white trash.
Ooh.
And they made their mission in life to make millions of dollars, and they went out and made millions of dollars, and it didn't change a thing about how they see themselves.
Mm.
There's one part of the story I wish I could share to illustrate it, but I can't, because just in case,
Yeah, understood.
But they engaged in very specific actions related to trying to change that image of themselves. And this person has way, way, way more runway behind them than they have in front of them.
Yeah.
Because being a CEO, getting all the IPOs, having all the houses, having all the cars, never changed that image that they were poor white trash on the inside.
Mm.
And they began to reach for something else, right?
Yeah.
And that's where, like what I was saying, like instead of thinking about, I'm imagining 6 figures in my bank account, what kind of person are you going to be when you have that?
Yeah.
And practicing that so that you become that in your state of being will not always prevent like the pride and the arrogance that comes with that, but it sure as hell can safeguard against it because you become the person. So one of the exercises I do with people when I'm coaching them, what do you want? Well, I want $100,000, or I want to be wealthy. Okay, when you get the wealth, what will the wealth give you that's even more important to you than the wealth?
Right.
Because you're trying to identify what is that core need that's driving this. Like, are you being driven? Do you really need to go make $1 million, or do you need to go make $1 million because you still feel like that kid on the farm that wore the same clothes to school every day?
I'm gonna throw a wrench into that, right? Because what I think, and this is what I'm learning about manifestation, is that you don't just ask for something. You ask yourself, why do I want this?
Exactly.
Why do I want this? What is this going to change in my life, or what is it? Because here's the thing: what people don't realize, and I know you preach this, I preach this, that money is just a personality amplifier.
Yep.
The more you have of it, the more of whatever your personality is going to manifest.
Yep.
And I say this like in the in the wake of the first trillionaire that happened today.
Oh, jeez.
I
wondered about that IPO. I wondered if I should get in on that.
Well, if you weren't like in an institutional, if you're not an institutional investor, if you're a retail investor, you weren't getting into that. Not at the 135 that it was floated at.
Yeah.
So and probably not at double that, because I didn't check to see what the close was on it, but the thing is that what we've seen is that, like, I remember watching a 60 Minutes interview with this guy, and it was so profound that I made them watch it, because I was like, this is a guy that doesn't believe that he can lose. And so I was thinking I'm instilling something into my kids, but then as time goes on, I see that the more money, the more influence, the more, the bigger a prick he becomes.
Yeah.
And so I always say, like, people say, yeah, I'll give to charity when I hit the lottery. If you're not giving to charity now,
yeah, that's
you
right.
have nothing. You're not going to give anything. If you're not generous now, you will not be generous. If you are a dick right now, you're going to be a bigger dick. You're going to be the Mac Daddy of dicks when you get millions.
Yeah, so true.
And that's the thing. So I always say, or what I'm learning is, why do I want this? Why
Yeah.
do I want this? And here I'm gonna share my why with the world. I'm gonna share my why because my why is this. It's really very simple. I ask myself every day, what can I do to help somebody make their life better? And then at night, I ask myself, what did I do to
That's
help
so
somebody be better?
that's so
Now,
good.
if I failed on that, I don't beat myself up. I just say, okay, tomorrow's another opportunity. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna sleep restfully, and I'm gonna wake up and I'm going to reiterate my mission statement. Why is this important? Because if you know your why, your why will drive all your who, what, when, where, and how.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is an interesting question because it can be tricky. I'm gonna throw something out at you with this.
Okay.
Well, the way you're using why is a value question, 100%, and that's the question you want to ask. What when you're saying why do I want this money? What do I value? You immediately jump to your values. You
Yep.
immediately jump to I want to make other people's lives better. What did I do today? What can I do tomorrow? That's your why. But really, what you're saying is that's my core values.
Yeah.
That's my core value because our core values drive it. Here's where why becomes tricky, and it's weird because we live in a culture or have lived in a culture. It might be changing where why is also used as a justification, provoking question. We
Yeah.
do this for like I had to learn this with my kids really early on. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
And the wheels start turning. It's like if I can think of a good enough why, I can justify what I did, right? And so I had to learn to tell my kids, look, it doesn't matter if you were playing with matches and accidentally burned the house down,
Hmm.
or you took a blowtorch to the house on purpose. The
Yeah.
house is still in shambles,
Yep. Results still the same.
right? So I like using the why question to explore values versus justification.
Yep.
Why do you want that? Well, because I want to prove that I'm, whatever.
Yep.
You know, if we reframe that into a value question, which is exactly what you just did, if I get that thing, what is that going to empower me to do that is more important to me than the thing itself?
Yep.
And you
Oh,
answered it.
that's good.
You answered it. It's more important to me that I'm adding value to people's lives, and I can't add value to people's lives if I'm barely scraping by.
Exactly.
I can't do it.
Nope.
And so I just wanted to throw that out there because why can be tricky.
Yep. But I think that like why is like your if you think about it, like why is the motherboard that your CPU is connected to, that your operating system runs on? Because if you don't have this why,
Right.
this purpose, this thing, and you said it so eloquently. It's like, what does this afford me that's bigger than the thing itself?
Right.
So I want to share an example. As we've been talking about Bible and church and all of that, but there
Yeah.
was one of my heroes in the faith was the Reverend Dr. Frederick K.C. Price.
Oh yeah. He was awesome.
Brilliant man, and he left behind such a substantive body of work.
Yeah.
Um, Hundreds of books.
Yep. I still
Um,
have him on my bookshelf.
yep, I have his original book, Ever Increasing Faith. You
Yeah, I
know,
think I have that one. Yep.
so but what Fred Price did is that he built a real estate empire outside of his ministry that was based on the income that he got from the books. So he didn't take money from the church. That's he wasn't one of those people that he was getting rich off
Yeah.
the flop.
Yeah.
But he decided at one point, he said, I'm going to drive a Rolls Royce.
Yeah. I
And
know the story.
he bought his first Rolls Royce brand new.
Yeah.
And what he used to do, the Crenshaw Christian Center where he pastored is in the middle of the hood.
Hmm.
And he would drive this car out and pick up kids on the street and let them ride in the Rolls Royce so they could have the experience of this, so that they could build a dream, fortify a dream. And that, Aaron, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
It's not, if I have a hot car, it's not just to have a hot car. If I have a big house, it's not just to have a big house. And so going back to the McMansion, is that every weekend, we'd have, pretty much every weekend, we'd have the whole church family over there.
Yeah.
That house was built to entertain, and we would entertain in that house all the time.
Yeah.
Why? Because that's what it was there for. It wasn't just, to say, hey, look at me, look at this house that I have. No, this is something that can accommodate a whole bunch of people, and they can be at peace, they can relax. It was awesome. And so I compare and contrast this, that experience with, with the Corvette, because it was like, a Corvette, it was like, don't touch my car, leave my car alone. I was I was just a real asshole about it. And so the everything that I did to manifest it, I negated the manifestation after I got it.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful of that, because it's like the universe is conspiring to do right by you,
Yeah.
to give you everything that you want, to fulfill your heart's desire. But when you do it, see, and that was the other thing too about the Corvette, is that I had the Corvette because I wanted to rub people's noses in it. You know, yeah. See, you thought I wasn't going to amount to shit, and here I am.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, fuck you, right? And that was my attitude, and it was really fucked up. And I understand that now. So, you know, um, to use another car story, uh, this is about 8 years ago.
Hmm.
This is 2026. So this is 2013.
Yeah.
I bought a Porsche 911, you know, and that was a hot car. Oh my
Yeah.
God. But it was like, when my kids' friends say, "Hey, I've never rode in a Porsche before. Come on, let's go for a ride.
Yeah.
Let you have the experience." Or some, a grown person, like people that went to the church, said, "Man, I've never rode in a Porsche." Well, come on. Or "Hey, I've never driven a Porsche before. Here you go."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and so my mentality was different, because now I realize that anything that I get, any blessing that I have, it's not just for me. That it has a cascading effect. That it belongs. It's from the universe. It belongs to the universe.
Yeah.
And whatever you get, you have to give back.
That's true.
And so I learned that. That was a lesson that I've learned. And as a result, you know, I have seen things manifest. Man, I mean, because you know about my financial situation before I went back to work a year ago.
Yeah.
It was dire.
Yeah.
It was dire, but I kept saying to myself, and I kept speaking into the universe, that this is not the way it's going to end up.
Yep.
That and sure enough, things are better now than they were before.
Yeah.
So the thing is that conquering your fears. Conquering your fears is not burying your fears. Is not subordinating your fears. Your fear can help you stay alive, and your fear is also a catalyst to growth. It gives you the opportunity to grow past something.
Yep.
That this is a fire that you can say that you've been through. You've overcome it, right? Um, and then do things that give you results. If it means starting small, we used to say this in church. Don't begrudge small beginnings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Play it small until you see results, and
Yep.
once you start seeing results, then start believing big, claiming big, manifesting big, because you can do it. And I'm not saying this as a platitude. I'm saying this experientially.
Right.
I'm saying this experientially, and I'm excited because next month for our anniversary, Maya and I are going to Hong Kong for 10 days. Now, I'm not saying that to boast. I'm saying that somebody is going to say, what was Hong Kong like? And
Mhm.
I'll be able to describe the smell, the touch, the feel, the experience that I had, and share that and say, yes, this was awesome, but this is something that you too can have.
Mhm.
You too can believe for this. And 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 that's kind of like where I'll leave it. It's like, whatever it is that you want, like, understand that, first of all, the universe is conspiring to help you. It's conspiring to give you what you want. And I can show you this, because if you believe negative, if you speak negative, if you speak in fear, you speak in trauma, these are the things that will follow you. But if you speak in healing, you speak in overcoming, you speak in health, you speak in wealth, and what will happen is that, just like the bad shit happened in your life, good shit will happen too. And that's thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I think it's listen. I think it's good because this is something that anybody can do.
Yep.
Does not require you to usurp anybody else's will. You
Nope.
don't have to try to get anybody else to do anything. It does not require a change in the Oval Office, although many of us pray that there would be.
Yeah.
It, like so many things that we get upset about that are outside of our control, this is something that you can do. I'm so glad you shared that, because it works. And there's a difference between I'm successful and so I'm taking a trip to Hong Kong, or I owned a Corvette, or I owned a Porsche because I'm so smart, because I got the lucky break, because I'm so good at sales or whatever. Like, not everybody can say that, right? Like, IQ, you didn't choose your IQ.
Yep.
If your IQ is high, you didn't choose it. If it's low, you didn't choose it, right?
Right.
Uh, some people had more opportunities, military, education,
Yep.
whatever. And we can disqualify ourselves with all, we can build a case against ourselves. Well, I'm not smart. I'm too old. Um, uh, mm, the economy's too bad. If
Hmm.
only I had come up in the 70s. I mean, I'll tell you, like, my parents paid like $20,000 for their, 40 acres and
Wow.
3,500 square foot house, in 1970. It's like, wow, if I could pay, 20 or 30,000, whatever it is,
Yeah.
now shit, you can't even get a for that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, trucks are going for what I bought my first house for.
Yep.
All of that to say, I'm so glad you said that, because this is something you can do. You can work on your subconscious, you can reprogram, you can pretend that you have it.
Yep.
You can, you know,
Well,
it,
it's not
it
pretending, and
works.
let me say this, because what it is that you're believing it. What you're doing is you're formulating a vision in your mind's eye,
Right,
in your third eye,
right.
and this becomes your reality. This is what you see,
Yes.
and what happens is that, because you believe it with confidence, with um, with repetition,
Yep.
your subconscious says, okay, let's go.
Yep.
But go ahead. I just had to throw
Oh,
that out.
yeah, no, absolutely. That's 100%. That's something anybody could do. And
Yep.
when you say my results came because I put these principles into practice, I think that encourages people and should give people hope. So I do think after the fact, we should talk about our successes. We should talk about our manifestations.
Yep.
We should talk about our breakthroughs, not because we're somebody special, but because we applied principles that have been testified to by millions of people.
Yeah.
Over the centuries. I mean, you find all this stuff in the Bible. It's all in the Bible. So they knew this stuff.
I mean, you find in the Bible, you find a Kabbalion, you find it in the writings of Tesla. Yeah.
Napoleon Hill, Orison Swett Martin, all of them.
Yeah. Yep. So the moral of the story is, folks, is that you can do this. You can do this. And I'm excited about the things that, that are happening in my life, that are about to happen in my life. Yeah. I'm excited because I'm watching manifestation unfold.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's probably a good place to be playing, huh?
Yeah, we didn't get a lot of comments tonight, but that's okay.
I don't see them all though, because I'll go look at my Facebook page or something, and there'll be comments in there that don't come up. So I don't know what's up with that. I don't know what that is. But all right, hopefully everybody enjoyed this. If you stayed with us till the end, and I know many of you watch by replay, so we just appreciate, as always, the time that you spend with us. And I'm not sure how to close it out.
No, man, I appreciate the time that we get to spend together, because this is like one of the high points of my week.
Yeah, me too.
And because I can get really into my headspace and share what I'm thinking without judgment, without and I love that about you, man. This is
likewise
cathartic for me.
Yeah, me too. I love it too. I always grow. Like, I feel edified. Again, I'm using all this churchy language, but who cares?
Yeah.
I feel built up. I feel stronger. I feel better. I feel improved.
And I'll say amen to that. All right. And we got the thumbs up from Facebook that, responding to your thumbs up. So until next time, you guys be well, be happy, be filled with peace, and speak your reality.
Yep.
Speak your reality.
Yep.
That's the challenge.
Right on. See you guys next week.
All right. Love you, man.